Hey warriors, welcome back to the channel. When someone tries to humiliate you, don't rush to defend yourself. Don't explain. Don't justify. Don't give them the satisfaction of seeing what controls you, because the moment you react, you've already lost. You've shown them where your buttons are, and worse, that they work. Machiavelli understood a truth most people still refuse to face. The world doesn't respect emotions. It studies them. Every time you rise to anger, every time you argue to prove a point, every time you let someone pull a reaction out of you, you are teaching them exactly how to manipulate you. People don't insult you because they hate you. They insult you to test you. They want to know if they can shake your ground, if your self-image is fragile enough to be shattered by a few words. That's why the strongest men in history didn't win arguments. They mastered silence. They didn't defend themselves. They let others expose their own weakness through overexposure. Because here's the dark truth. The one who reacts reveals. The one who stays calm controls. An insult isn't just an attack. It's an invitation. It's the world asking you, do you know who you are? Or do you need me to remind you? And the moment you answer emotionally, you've already surrendered your power. You've let someone else define your worth. But the one who can stand still, who can let the chaos unfold around him without losing his center, becomes terrifying. Not because he's aggressive, but because he's unreadable. Because nothing exposes people faster than their reaction to your silence. So next time someone tries to insult you, don't give them your energy. Let them speak. Let their noise echo in their own insecurity. Because the truth is, only unstable people need to prove they're unshaken. The truly strong don't flinch. They simply watch. Machiavelli once said, "He who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still." Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my power. Number 1, the psychology behind insults. Every insult carries a hidden intention. It's not about the words, it's about control. People use insults like probes, pressing into your mind to see what makes you twitch when someone mocks you, criticizes your appearance, questions your worth, or sneers at your choices. They're not communicating. They're conducting an emotional experiment. They want to see your temperature rise. They want to discover what emotions dominate your system. Insults are not accidents of speech. They're carefully placed triggers designed to expose weakness. In truth, an insult says far more about the speaker than the target. Yet most people never see it that way. They take it personally, feed into it, and unknowingly hand over their emotional data to the person who insulted them. This is why Machiavelli warned rulers and men of power to remain unreadable, because predictability is the death of dominance. When someone insults you, they are not really attacking you. They are trying to measure you. They are asking what breaks you, what hurts you, what truth do you fear others will see. The more you respond, the more information you give them. They now know which weapon to use next time. And so what began as a small emotional test turns into a system of control that repeats until you lose the ability to remain grounded. People who understand this psychology can reverse the game entirely. Instead of being tested, they become the observer. They watch calmly as others expose their own inner instability. Because here's what happens. When someone insults you and you stay silent, they start to feel lost. Their experiment fails. Their need for control collapses. The silence burns them more than any comeback ever could. They begin to wonder what kind of mind doesn't react to ridicule. That's when power quietly shifts. Machiavelli once said, "Men are so simple and so much creatures of circumstance that the deceiver will always find someone ready to be deceived." What he meant was that emotion makes people predictable, and predictability makes them easy to manipulate. The one who can't control their anger, their pride, or their need to be liked will always dance to someone else's tune. But the one who studies before reacting, who pauses long enough to read intention instead of words, becomes impossible to manipulate. So next time someone throws verbal poison at you, don't absorb it. Analyze it, don't respond, record. Because in every insult there's a piece of truth about the one who delivered it. Their insecurity, their envy, their desperation for relevance. Remember this, insults are psychological mirrors. They reflect the instability of the one throwing them. When you understand that, no word can wound you anymore. You don't just hear their insult, you decode it. And once you can decode people, you control the interaction. That is the real power behind emotional intelligence. Not softness, but strategic awareness. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I see through the noise. Number 2, the Machiavellian principle. Control the frame. Power isn't always about dominance. Often it's about control over the frame, the invisible space where meaning is decided. Most people lose power not because they are weak, but because they accept someone else's frame of reality. When a person insults you, they are inviting you into their frame, one built on provocation, emotion, and chaos. The moment you react, you step into their arena and play by their rules. But Machiavelli understood that the one who defines the frame defines the outcome. He wrote that perception is stronger than truth because people live by appearances, not reality. So the wise don't fight inside someone else's perception. They reshape it from the outside. When you stay calm under insult, you instantly shift the frame. You make the aggressor look desperate while you appear composed. The focus moves from the words they use to the contrast between your stillness and their instability. Suddenly they're the one under the microscope, not you. This is why emotional control is not just maturity. It's strategy. Every time you choose not to engage in a battle of egos, you silently redefine the hierarchy. You move from being a participant to being the observer. And the observer always has the upper hand. The person who reacts loses status. The one who stays centered gains gravity. It's like a chess player who doesn't rush after being attacked, but repositions with precision, waiting for the other to overextend. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." Heck knew that reacting emotionally makes you predictable while controlling the frame makes you timeless. When you remain calm, people start to question their own emotions. They begin to doubt the validity of their own aggression. Your stillness acts as a mirror that reflects their lack of discipline. They may raise their voice, but your silence raises the tension. They may attempt to provoke, but your unshaken energy exposes their childishness. Slowly they lose confidence in their attack, and that's how the frame collapses. The true Machiavellian never seeks validation from others. He sets the emotional temperature of the room. He doesn't chase dominance. He becomes the environment others must adapt to. When you master this, you no longer react to people. They start reacting to you. That's when you step into the invisible realm of influence where the strongest power is quiet and effortless. You begin to control perception not by words, but by presence. Remember, control of the frame is control of meaning, and control of meaning is control of minds. Every time you stay calm in a storm, you rewrite the power dynamic without saying a word. That's why composure isn't weakness. It's authority disguised as restraint. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I control the frame. Number 3, the silent authority. Silence has always been misunderstood. The world assumes that quietness is weakness, that those who do not speak are uncertain or afraid. But Machiavelli would disagree. Silence is not the absence of power. It is its highest form. The one who can remain wordless while others are desperate to fill the air with noise holds the real authority. When someone insults you, the most effective response is not a defense, not a counterattack, but a calm, deliberate stillness. That stillness carries a psychological weight that words can never achieve. It forces the other person to face their own emptiness. You see, people insult to provoke movement. They throw verbal stones expecting a ripple. When nothing moves, it unsettles them. Their mind starts questioning its own effectiveness. Did it not land? Why isn't he reacting? That inner confusion slowly turns into discomfort, and discomfort turns into respect. Because humans instinctively respect what they cannot read. The loud and reactive are transparent. The silent and composed are mysterious. Machiavelli once said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves." One must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. Silence is both the fox and the lion. It hides your thoughts while radiating quiet danger. When you say nothing, people begin to imagine everything. They project fear, doubt, or admiration, all created by their own minds, not by your words. That is the brilliance of silent authority. It lets others reveal themselves while you stay unreadable. In politics, in relationships, in business, the one who talks less holds the upper ground because they conserve mystery. Every unnecessary word is a clue about your inner world. Silence denies people those clues. It keeps them guessing, and in that guessing they surrender psychological ground. Power isn't always expressed. Often it's implied. Stillness communicates confidence. When you don't respond, you're sending a message. You're not worth my energy. And that message echoes louder than any spoken reply. People fear being ignored more than being attacked. Ignoring someone strips them of validation and significance. It tells them that their attempt to disturb your peace has failed. That's why silence feels like dominance, because it makes others confront their own noise. In your silence, they meet themselves, and most people can't stand that encounter. They mistake your calm for superiority, and in that perception you rise. The wise man doesn't compete for attention. He creates presence through restraint. Silence is not passivity. It's the art of emotional discipline, turned into visible control. The moment you learn to stay still under verbal fire, you transform from a participant into a force. You no longer chase influence, your silence becomes it. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence commands respect. Number 4. Self-awareness creates immunity. Every insult that stings exposes an unhealed wound. The reason words can pierce is because they find a part of you that still seeks approval or hides insecurity. True power begins the moment you understand this. The world cannot insult what you have fully accepted. When you know yourself so completely that no opinion can alter your inner image, you become emotionally immune. Machiavelli believed that strength is built not from arrogance but from understanding human nature, including your own. When someone attacks your weakness, they are betting on your lack of awareness. They expect you to defend, deny, or react because reaction signals vulnerability. But self-awareness flips the entire structure of the insult. It turns an attack into information. Instead of asking, "Why did they say that?" you ask, "Why did it affect me?" That single shift changes everything. It transforms you from a puppet of emotion into a master of perception. When you take ownership of your flaws, you rob others of the power to use them. Imagine someone calls you arrogant.
If you know that confidence is often mistaken for arrogance, their words no longer touch you. You see through the lens of understanding rather than ego.
Every insult then becomes a mirror showing you where you still depend on others for validation. Once you confront that dependence, it dissolves. Machiavelli once said, "It is not titles that honor men, but men who honor titles." His words remind us that value is not given, it's created internally. When you define your worth from within, no external comment can reduce it. The person who insults you is only describing their own limitations, not your reality. Self-awareness makes you untouchable because it transforms perception into armor. You begin to observe your emotions instead of being driven by them. You recognize the rise of anger but choose calm. You feel the sting of disrespect but don't feed it. You no longer need to prove anything. That composure terrifies people who live off emotional chaos. They expect you to break. Instead, you reflect. That's when they realize your silence isn't weakness, it's control. The secret to emotional immunity lies in the simple truth that you can't be hurt by what you've already accepted. When you make peace with your imperfections, criticism becomes background noise. It loses all emotional voltage. The words that once caused pain now sound hollow because you no longer hear them through insecurity. You hear them through awareness. You become unshakable not by hiding your flaws but by embracing them so fully that no one can weaponize them. That's when your presence changes. People feel it. They sense that their opinions no longer reach you, and that unsettles them. You've evolved beyond reaction into mastery. You've learned that power doesn't come from proving others wrong. It comes from knowing you were never defined by them. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am untouchable. Number 5, learn from what they reveal. Every insult you receive is a confession in disguise. The words people use to try to cut you down often say more about their inner struggles than your actual character. A man consumed by envy will accuse others of arrogance. Someone drowning in insecurity will call others fake or overconfident. The truth is simple. People project what they cannot face within themselves. Machiavelli understood this human flaw well. He observed that the weak often disguise resentment as morality and jealousy as concern. When someone insults you, it's rarely about you. It's a reflection of their discomfort in your presence. Their reaction exposes what they lack. Instead of being offended, you should listen like a strategist gathering intelligence. Insults are information. They reveal how people perceive you, what threatens them, and where their own ego fractures. Each insult is a clue, a fragment of psychological data that can teach you how to navigate them. This is why emotionally intelligent individuals don't waste time retaliating. They extract meaning. Machiavelli once said, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." In the same way, you can gauge the mental state of a person by how they speak about others. When someone throws verbal venom, it shows they are fighting a war inside themselves. Their hostility isn't a weapon of power. It's a symptom of pain. To see through this illusion is to step outside of their control. You begin to operate from awareness instead of emotion. Instead of reacting, you analyze. You see their need for validation, their hunger for significance, their subtle cry for attention. The wise do not take insults personally, because they understand that every word carries the fingerprints of the speaker's psychology. By staying calm, you force them to keep revealing their tone, expression, and persistence become windows into their insecurity. The more they try to provoke, the more transparent they become. What began as their attempt to expose you ends with them exposing themselves. When you treat insults as lessons rather than attacks, you gain an edge that most people never develop. Perspective. You learn how human ego operates under pressure. You start noticing patterns. Who insults out of envy? Who mocks from fear? Who belittles to mask shame? That knowledge becomes power because it teaches you how to navigate people with precision instead of emotion. The greatest warriors never hate their enemies. They study them. They understand that awareness is a more effective weapon than anger. When you reach that level of clarity, insults lose their poison. You begin to see that the world is a mirror. What people say to you is what they struggle to accept in themselves. So when someone tries to degrade you, remember they're not showing you your weakness, they're confessing theirs. You want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I learn from every insult. Number 6, the art of subtle replies. There will be moments when silence alone isn't enough. When you feel the urge to respond, not to defend but to reclaim control with elegance. The key is subtlety. Machiavelli mastered the art of words that disarm without confrontation. He understood that the sharpest blades are those hidden beneath calm tones. Most insults lose their strength when met with composure, but a well-placed, emotionally neutral response can turn an attacker's energy back on themselves. When someone says, "You've changed," the insecure mind rushes to justify, while the powerful simply says, "That's what growth looks like." It's not defensive. It's final. It signals that your evolution doesn't require their approval. When they sneer, "You think you're better," your response, "I think differently," ends the exchange with quiet superiority. The point of a subtle reply is not to end the argument. It's to end it without losing dignity. Your tone must be steady, your words short, and your eyes unwavering. People who insult you expect emotional chaos. They prepare for confrontation, not composure. When your answer is measured and your demeanor still, it unbalances them. Their attempt to provoke turns inward and they begin questioning their own confidence. Machiavelli once said, "Never was anything great achieved without danger." Speaking calmly in the face of disrespect is dangerous because it exposes how much control you truly have. Every word becomes an instrument of precision, not reaction. The less emotion you use, the more power your language holds. The subtle reply is not about clever comebacks or sarcasm. It's about creating psychological silence after you speak, a pause that lingers longer than their insult, a moment where they realize their attack accomplished nothing. That silence becomes your ally. It allows your presence to say the rest. When you respond with calm brevity, it shifts the atmosphere. People around notice who maintained grace and who lost it. Your words echo differently when they're rare and deliberate. It's not about humiliation. It's about maintaining control while appearing untouchable. Subtle replies require discipline. You must master tone, timing, and restraint. Too soft and you seem weak. Too harsh and you look defensive. The balance lies in emotional neutrality, a delivery that feels effortless, like you're addressing something trivial, not personal, because in truth it is trivial. No insult can touch a mind that sees beyond it. The power lies not in the words you choose, but in the energy behind them. Calm, detached, and final. The more you practice this, the more people realize that trying to provoke you is pointless. Your subtlety becomes your shield. You're not fighting, you're demonstrating mastery. The world will always test you, but your control over tone is what separates the powerful from the reactive. Precision in words reflects precision in mind. So remember, speak rarely, and when you do, make it surgical. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My calmness ends conflicts. Number 7. The long game of composure. Machiavelli understood that true dominance was never built on speed but on endurance. The ones who win in life are not those who react first, but those who outlast everyone else. Composure is not about a single moment of silence. It's about maintaining your equilibrium across time. No matter how many provocations come your way, the world constantly tests your patience, tempting you to trade long-term power for short-term satisfaction. Most people fall for that trap because their ego demands instant validation. They want to be right immediately, respected immediately, avenged immediately. But the Machiavellian mind knows that emotional speed kills strategic advantage. Every time you react impulsively, you destroy your leverage. However, when you remain consistent in composure, you allow time itself to become your ally. People who thrive on drama eventually exhaust themselves. They expose their lack of control through repetition, while your calmness accumulates quiet credibility. The longer you remain unbothered, the more powerful you appear. Time has a way of revealing truth. Those who constantly seek attention fade, while those who stay grounded rise. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does." Finally, the essence of this truth is patience. You do not rush to prove anything because you already understand the outcome. Every insult, every doubt, every attempt to shake you becomes part of a larger pattern that you're watching unfold. You're no longer fighting momentary battles. You're waging a war of composure that only the disciplined can win. The calm mind is like a fortress, weathering every storm while watching the impatient destroy themselves. Those who need to respond instantly reveal that they have no inner stillness, no inner foundation. Their emotions dictate their behavior and time punishes them for it. But when you refuse to bend to emotional urgency, you begin to attract a different kind of respect, the respect that comes from consistency. People trust what remains stable, and composure is stability in human form. It's not about pretending to be unaffected. It's about mastering the art of emotional detachment so deeply that provocation loses its meaning. The long game of composure is about reputation. Each time you stay calm, you build an image of authority. Over time, that image becomes identity. People begin to associate your silence with confidence, your patience with power, your lack of reaction with depth. This is how leaders are quietly formed, not through loud victories but through invisible discipline. Eventually, those who once mocked your restraint start to imitate it, realizing that control is a rarer and greater strength than aggression. Composure is magnetic because it represents self-mastery, and self-mastery is the foundation of every empire. Remember this: storms pass, but the mountain remains. If you can hold your center long enough, time will expose everyone who couldn't. That's how the composed always win, not through speed but through survival. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My calm outlasts chaos. Number 8. The final power shift. There comes a point when you've trained your emotions so completely that insults no longer even register as threats. They simply pass through you, leaving no trace. That's when something profound begins to happen. The power dynamic reverses. The same people who once tried to provoke you now start to hesitate before speaking. They sense something they can't quite define, a calmness that feels untouchable, a silence that makes them second-guess their own confidence. You have become unreadable, and in a world addicted to reaction, unreadability is terrifying. Machiavelli understood that mystery is a form of command. He wrote that people fear what they cannot predict and respect what they cannot understand. When your emotions are sealed, your mind becomes an enigma. Others can no longer measure your limits, and that uncertainty turns into quiet influence. They begin to treat you differently, not because you demanded respect, but because your presence makes them aware of their own instability. The power has shifted without a word being spoken. You no longer have to assert authority. Your composure does it for you. The one who cannot be emotionally moved becomes the one who moves others. It's an invisible hierarchy built not on dominance but on control. You don't need revenge. You don't need validation. You don't even need to prove calmness. It radiates naturally. That's when real confidence emerges. The kind that doesn't shout or posture. The kind that simply is. The man who can remain tranquil while others unravel becomes magnetic. People lean towards stability because it makes them feel safe. Yet they also fear it because it exposes their own chaos. You become a mirror, and not everyone is ready to see their reflection. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But he wasn't speaking of aggression. He was speaking of presence. Fear in his philosophy is their respect earned by those who master control. When you can't be swayed, you command involuntarily. Others align to your emotional rhythm. They tone down their behavior around you. Adjust their tone. Choose their words carefully without threats or confrontation. You've become the center of gravity in the room. That is the ultimate transformation from the one who acted to the one who defines reactions. Power no longer needs to be displayed, it's felt. You've become the still point in a chaotic world, and that stillness makes others orbit around your calm. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am my own power. Now here's the truth most people will never face. Real strength doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't demand respect. It doesn't prove anything to anyone. Real strength simply doesn't flinch. Every insult, every attack, every attempt to provoke you is an opportunity to practice this. The next time someone tries to get under your skin, pause. Let silence answer for you. Let calmness fill the space. Watch carefully. See the reflection of their chaos. Understand that their words have power only if you allow them to. Machiavelli taught that perception is stronger than reality. And emotion is the easiest way to manipulate perception. By mastering yourself, by refusing to react, you reshape the invisible rules of every encounter. You become untouchable. People who once believed they could unbalance you will find themselves off-center. Their aggression becomes awkward, their insults hollow, and their attempts at control futile. That is the moment when power quietly shifts toward you. You do not need to raise your voice, strike back, or humiliate. Your presence, your composure, your mastery of self speaks louder than any words. It is subtle yet undeniable. Let this principle guide you. Mastery over yourself is mastery over all who attempt to sway you. The world will continue to challenge, test, and insult you. That is inevitable. But the victory lies not in stopping the attacks, but in stopping your reaction. Become the still point in the storm. Let your calmness unsettle others. Let your composure attract respect. Become the one who moves while the world rattles itself. This is your challenge. Take every insult, every provocation, and use it to refine your strength. Let the world speak while you watch and grow. Let them reveal their weakness, and let your silence reveal your power. The path is simple, but few follow it. Those who do, however, achieve something the loud and reactive will never know. The quiet, unshakable dominance of a mind in control. If you take this lesson seriously, if you practice it relentlessly, you will become untouchable. Now I want you to drop this final affirmation in the comments. I do not flinch. Remember, strength is not about proving it to the world. It is about never needing to.